Hello friends, few of my subscribers are keen to know the budget, place to visit, accommodations and some tips for a bike trip or a road trip to Spiti Valley. I will share my experience and the expenses occurred during my Spiti Valley trip. I visited the Spiti Valley back in the first week of October 2017 on a 500cc Royal Enfield Desert Storm with my wife as a pillion. So before we get started, let me brief you the points that we are going to cover in this video. Firstly, I would like to brief few facts to know about Spiti Valley. Why you should visit this place, best time to visit Spiti Valley, best routes to Spiti Valley, point of interest and places of attraction, how many days are required for a Spiti Valley trip, places for stay and availability of accommodation, mode of transportation, availability of fuel stations, budget and travel expenses. Facts to know about Spiti Valley. Spiti Valley is a cold desert mountain valley located high in the Himalayan mountains in the northeastern part of the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. The name Spiti means the middle land, that is the land between Tibet and India. The subdivisional headquarters or capital is Kaza, which is situated along the Spiti river at an elevation of about 12,500 feet. Lahaul and Spiti Valley often termed together, but Lahaul Valley is altogether a different region with a different view than what Spiti Valley has to offer, and most people get confused between them. The Rohtang Pass separates the Lahaul Valley from the Kullu Valley, and the Kunzum Pass separates the Lahaul Valley from Spiti Valley. And by jurisdiction wise, beyond Chhatru, the Lahaul administration starts. Both are tribal circuits, but Lahaul Valley can be distinguished by names like Keylong, Udaipur, Jispa, Baralachala Pass, Surajtal, Darcha, etc. Majority of these places fall on Manali-Leh highway, and hence anyone who has made a trip to Manali-Leh highway would have experienced them. The scenic beauty perspective is also different between Lahaul and Spiti, where Lahaul Valley is more green and living, while Spiti Valley is more barren and a cold desert. Why one should visit Spiti Valley? Surrounded by the mountains and glaciers, some highest village in the world perched on the mountain crest, quaint old monasteries, crystal clear rivers and streams, prayer flags fluttering in the wind and monks in their robes evoke strong comparisons with Tibet and leave tourists to this remote region spellbound. It is not just culture and natural beauty that Spiti offers. Trekking, jeep safaris and bike trips are some of the activities that you can do here. Trekkers flock to Spiti attracted by its scenic mountains, enchanting landscapes, glaciers and pristine environment. Pin Parvati, Parangla and Pin Baba are some of the popular trails. Even if you are not interested, a trip to village situated around Spiti can be an interesting experience. Kunzum Pass, the gateway to Spiti, leads to the Barasigri Glacier, the second longest glacier in the world. Monasteries and gompas represents the ancient culture and tradition of Spiti. Key Monastery, located at an altitude of 13,668 feet above sea level, is close to the Spiti river and is the biggest monastery in Spiti Valley and a religious training center for lamas. Tabo Monastery, one of the oldest Buddhism center in Western Himalaya, is located here. Murals of Tabo monasteries are quite similar to Ajanta paintings. Best time to visit Spiti Valley. The road connecting to this valley from the north is cut off frequently in winter due to heavy snowfall for up to 6 to 7 months of the year. This means you cannot access this valley from Manali or Keylong due to heavy snow at the highest Kunzum Pass, which is elevated at 15,059 feet, whereas Spiti Valley is accessible throughout the year from the south, that is via Kinnaur, from Shimla route on a difficult 412 km long road. But even this route may also periodically get closed for a brief period during the winter storms, but road access is usually restored within a few days after storm ends. The summer months from late May to late September are therefore the best time to visit Spiti Valley. As the weather warms up, the snow slowly melts and gets cleared away to open up road travel to the valley. Best routes to Spiti Valley. There are two routes to enter Spiti Valley. One from Delhi via Manali, then Rohtang Pass, Kunzum Pass, Losar and finally Kaza. and the other from Delhi via Shimla, then Narkanda, Kinnaur Valley, Tabo, and finally to Kaza. So you can see that one can enter from one side, say Shimla, and exit back to Delhi from another side like Manali, making it the complete circuit. I suggest you guys start it from Shimla and exit through Manali due to two basic advantages. Firstly, Spiti Valley is a cold desert situated in Trans-Himalayan region at an altitude of 11,000 feet mostly, and hence your body will require a certain amount of acclimatization before you enter the Spiti Valley. So going via Shimla side will help you gradually increase the altitude and your body gets acclimatized properly. Hence fewer chances of getting hit with acute mountain sickness. If you start from Manali side, then you will reach high altitude terrain pretty quickly, which increases the chances of mountain sickness and that can spoil the trip. Secondly, you get a chance to traverse the Hindustan-Tibet highway, which is one of the most adventurous and as per some the most treacherous road in the world. Riding or driving on Hindustan-Tibet road is a journey in itself even if you do not visit any place in Spiti Valley. So with these two reasons in mind, let's start from Shimla side and exit via Manali side. Point of interest or places of attraction. I will highlight the point of interest that fall in the circuit starting from Shimla to Gaza and then back to Manali. Solan. So when you are starting your journey from Delhi or Chandigarh, the very first town you entered is Solan, elevated at 1600 meter, is a hill town. If you have carried out some extra days or you couldn't make it up to Shimla or Chail on the first day of your journey, you can plan to stay in Solan. Shimla. A distance of 46 km from Solan, you will reach Shimla, the capital and the largest city in Himachal Pradesh, elevated at 2276 meters. Sightseeing includes the Mall Road, the Ridge, Lakkad Bazaar and Jakhu Temple. Chail. If you are the person who likes tranquil and wants to avoid crowd, you can skip Shimla and instead visit Chail, which is another hill station elevated at 2250 meters and is 40 km from Solan, which is far more serene compared to Shimla. So you can take either the Shimla route or the Chail route. Both these routes cover almost the same distance. Kufri. The next point in your journey will be Kufri, a small hill station at an elevation of 2630 meters and located 20 km from Shimla and 31 km from Chail. The attraction here includes the Himalayan National Park. Kufri also offers various fun activities at Kufri Fun World, horse ride to the Mahasu Peak and skiing during winters. Narkanda. The next point in your journey is Narkanda at an elevation of 2760 meters and located 47 km from Kufri. Hatu Peak and Tonu Jubbar Lake are the points of attraction here. One can also do skiing during the season. Sarahan. Sarahan is a small village in Kinnaur Valley. It is the site of the Bhimkali temple, originally known as Bhim Devi temple. Sarahan Pheasantry and Dharangati Wildlife Sanctuary are the places to visit in Sarahan. You need to divert from the main NH5 at a place called Jori and ascend for about 12 km to reach Sarahan. Sangla Valley. Sangla is a town in the Baspa Valley, also referred to as the Sangla Valley, in the Kinnaur district close to the Tibetan border. The valley is surrounded by forested slopes and offers view of the high mountains. Chitkul. It is the last inhabited village near the Indo-China border. 24 km from Sangla, the drive to this village is an absolute treat for nature lovers, especially the last 10 km after crossing the nomadic village of Rakcham, which marks the halfway point between Sangla and Chitkul. I am not sure about the altitude of this village as I found it as 4550 meters in Wikipedia, which is no way it could be real, and many websites claim it as 3450 meters. I am a bit skeptical about this figure as well. Kalpa. Kalpa is a small town in the Satluj River Valley above Rekongpio in the Kinnaur district. It is located at the base of the Kinnaur Kailas snow-capped range. Kalpa is one of the biggest and beautiful village of the Kinnaur district. You need to divert from the main NH5 and ascend to about 5 km to reach Kalpa. Nako. Nako is a village located near the Indo-China border in the Trans-Himalayan region of Kinnaur district. Nako Lake is a prominent feature here, where it borders the village. Nako Monastery, dated to 1025 AD, is located in this village with several other Buddhist chotans. Gyu Village. This village is famous for a 500-year-old mummy of a Buddhist monk. The remains of this 15th century Buddhist monk named Sangha Tenzin was discovered in 1975 when the stupa that was housing him collapsed during an earthquake. To reach here, one need to divert from the main highway after crossing Sumdo. A 10-kilometer narrow road will take you to this village. Tabo. A 35-kilometer from Gyu, you reach Tabo. Tabo is a small town in the Lahaul and Spiti district on the bank of the river Spiti. Situated at an altitude of 3,280 meters, Tabo is famous for Tabo Monastery. It was founded in 1996 AD in the Tibetan era of the first age. Tabo is noted for being the oldest continuously operating Buddhist enclave in both India and the Himalayas. Dhankar Monastery. Dhankar village elevated at an altitude of 3,894 meters, which is 31 km from Tabo. The Dhankar monastery is built on a 1,000 feet high spur overlooking the confluence of the Spiti and Pin rivers, one of the world's most spectacular settings of a Gompa. Dhang or Dang means cliff and Kar or Khar means fort. Hence, Dhankar means fort on a cliff. The Dhankar lake, which is situated above the village of Dhankar at an altitude of 4,136 meters in the middle of the hills. A 1-hour steep hike is required to reach the lake from the village. Pin Valley. Pin Valley is a beautiful valley in Lahaul and Spiti, situated along the Pin River. Though within Spiti, the ecosystem of Pin Valley is completely different than that of the Spiti, and its pristine beauty is quite fascinating. There are approximately 17 villages in Pin Valley, and the last village in this valley is the Mud Village, elevated at an altitude of 3,770 meters and is 33 km away from the main highway. This village is the trailhead for the spectacular Pin Parvati trek and also for the Pin Baba trek. Mud is a fine spot to ramble around for a couple of days even if you are not trekking. A short distance from here, you enter the 675 square kilometer Pin Valley National Park, reputed as the land of ibex and snow leopards. Kaza. Situated along the Spiti River at an elevation of 3,800 meters, Kaza is the subdivisional headquarters of the remote Spiti Valley in the Lahaul and Spiti district, which is the highest township and the commercial center of this valley. Kaza is known for its colorful festivals and the ancient Sakya Tangyut monastery. It is also popular with its tourist and adventure seekers during summer months because of its central location and connections to rest of the valley and outside. This central location also makes Kaza an ideal base camp for trekking, mountaineering and tours directed to other parts of the valley. You can find some offbeat and high altitude village around Kaza. The village named Langza, Komik, Hikkim forms one circuit and can be covered in one day. And the Ki, Kibbar, Chicham, Gete, Tashigang can be covered in another day. I will suggest visiting Langza, Komik and Hikkim first, as the Ki, Kibbar, Chicham, Gete and Tashigang falls on the Chandatal route, so you can plan to visit this place while going to Chandatal. Langza. Langza is known for the presence of marine fossils and the breathtaking view of 6,300 meter high Chow Chow Kang Nelda Peak sitting on the top of the village. At the very first glance of the village, one will instantly notice a huge Buddha statue which is believed to be around 1,000-year-old. The village is guarded by this statue overlooking the valley, an old monastery and few mud houses, which are worth visiting. The monastery behind the statue is said to be over 500-year-old. Hikkim, another village in Lahaul Spiti district. This location is credited as world's highest polling station. It is recorded in the Limca Book of Records and also credited to have the world's highest post office. The pin code is 172114. Komik. Komik is another village which is recorded as the highest village connected with the motorable road. The Comic Gompa or Tangyut Monastery, yet another attraction, is considered to be over 500-year-old and one of the highest altitude Gompas in India. Key Monastery, a Tibetan Buddhist monastery located on top of a hill at an altitude of 4,166 meters above sea level, close to the Spiti River in the Spiti Valley. It is the biggest monastery of Spiti Valley and a religious training center for lamas. From Key, plan for Gete and then Tashigang, and after returning from there you will cross Kibber and Chicham while continuing to Chandratal. Gete. Gete is another highest village at an altitude of 4,270 meters and is 10 km from Kibber, and riding to further 5 km you will reach Tashigang. While traveling to these villages, you can spot Himalayan ibex. The route to Gete and Tashigang is a complete dirt road. Kibber. Kibber is another high altitude village in the Spiti Valley, elevated at 4,270 meters. It contains a monastery and the Kibber Wildlife Sanctuary. Chicham. You can spot Chicham village nestled in a huge mountain peak. The road from Kibber to Chicham is connected using a suspended bridge over a gorge, which is said to be Asia's highest bridge at an altitude of 4,037 meters and connects the Kibber village to the Chicham village. The bridge is named after the village as Chicham Bridge. For Losar or Chandratal, I will advise not to take the NH 505 from Kaza and skip Rangrik, as the road condition of NH 505 is worst and a nightmare. Instead, go via Key, Kibber, then Chicham and continue on this road, which is newly constructed and will save some 40 km being trapped in a tough terrain. Riding for about 41 km from Kibber, you will reach Losar. Kunzum Pass. Kunzum Pass or Kunzumla, elevated at 4,590 meters, is a high mountain pass on the eastern Kunzum range of the Himalayas. It connects the Kullu Valley and Lahore Valley with Spiti Valley. The Kunzum Pass is 19 km from Losar and 76 km from Kaza. Chandratal Lake. Chandratal is a lake situated in the Spiti part of the Lahore and Spiti district. Chandratal means the lake of the moon, and the name of this lake originates from its crescent shape. It is situated at an altitude of about 4,300 meters. The jeepable distance from Kunzum Pass to Chandratal is 19 km and further 2 km to trek. The road to Chandratal is narrow and rough. Rohtang Pass. Rohtang Pass is a high mountain pass on the eastern Pir Panjal range of the Himalayas, around 51 km from Manali. It connects the Kullu Valley and the Lahore and Spiti Valley of the Himachal Pradesh. This pass is elevated at an altitude of 3,978 meters. Solang Valley. Located at a distance of 13 km from Manali, Solang Valley lies between Solang village and Biaskund. It offers a beautiful view of glaciers and snow-capped mountains. Since the valley has fine ski slopes, it is a perfect place for skiing. During winters, the valley becomes a skiing paradise with children of all ages slipping and sliding over the fresh white snow. When the snow melts in the summer, skiing is replaced by parachuting, zorbing, paragliding and horse riding. Manali. Manali is a resort town nestled in the mountains near the northern end of the Kullu Valley at an altitude of 2,050 meters. It is a popular tourist destination and serves as the gateway to Lahore and Spiti district as well as Leh. How many days are required for a Spiti Valley trip? The Spiti Valley trip can be done in 6 days, but for that you have to skip Kinnaur Valley, Sangla Valley and Pin Valley. If you like to cover all the above mentioned valleys and the offbeat location around the valley, then a minimum of 10 days is required. Since there's a lot more this valley will offer you, it's a worth to visit and one should not skip these places. And always keep 1 or 2 days as a buffer in case of road closure due to landslides or snowfall or any breakdown of your vehicle. Places for stay and availability of accommodation. Since the number of available days for a trip and the places of interest will always differ as per the planning you have made, it's totally up to you to decide the places to stay and prepare the itinerary as per your convenience. And in this part, I will provide you with the details of the availability and the expenses for accommodation. So starting from Delhi, the first point after Chandigarh is Solan. If you couldn't make it for Shimla, Chail or Narkanda on the first day of your trip, then you can plan to stay in Solan. A variety of hotels and resorts resorts are available here ranging from 1000 to 5000 and more. We stayed in a resort named as Himani Resort, which cost us 2500 for a night stay. The costing will be same if you plan to stay in Shimla, Chel or Kufri. Shimla, the next city and a crowded tourist spot, will offer plenty of hotels and resorts. Here an average hotel will cost you 2000, and if you are looking for more comfort and services, it will cost you 5000 and more. And for Chel and Kufri, you will find fewer resorts and hotels compared to Shimla or Solan. Here the price starts from 1500 and the price goes up depending on the hotel class. If you stretch a little more on your first day journey, then you can plan to stay in Narkanda or Rampur. Both these places offer small to medium budget hotels. We stayed at Hotel Little Chef in Rampur, which was below average and cost 1200 for a night. If you have planned for Sarahan, there are few decent low budget hotels. Similar to the case for Sangla, if you go further to explore the village in Baspa Valley, you can get few hotels, camps or a homestay in Batseri, Rakcham and Chitkul, which are quite a few in number compared to Sangla. We spent 2300 for a below average hotel in Chitkul due to a huge rush of travelers that day. The next point, Kalpa, where you will find many hotels and guest house in a range of 1000 to 2000. We spent our fourth night in Poo, which is 75 km from Kalpa and 40 km from Nako. We found only 2 guest houses in this village and we booked Valley View guest house for 500 rupees and we find it okay for this price. Then comes Nako. Few guest houses, homestay and campings near the lake are the options available here. Camping here may get a bit higher in prices compared to the other options. Departing from Nako and before you enter Tabo, you must visit Gyu village. After crossing Chango and then Sumdo, you will find a diversion to the left for Gyu village. I found one homestay in this village. Returning from Gyu, you will enter Tabo, which is around 35 km. Here in Tabo, you will find plenty of guest house, homestays and few hotels ranging from 500 to 2500. We resided in Hotel Maitreya Regency for 2500 a night and this hotel was good and decent and served us authentic food. After Tabo, you will be visiting Dhankar, which is 31 km from Tabo. And yes, you can find few homestays and guest house here. After Dhankar, if you have planned for Pin Valley, take a diversion to the left and drive all the way to Mud Village. You can get guest houses or homestays here for a cheaper price. After returning, you will be headed towards Kaza. It's the largest town and commercial center in the Spiti Valley. Here you will find plenty of hotels, guest houses and restaurants ranging from 500 to 3500 and more. You can also opt for campings at the bank of the Spiti River. We stayed in Kunzum Spiti Inn for 1800 rupees, which includes dinner and breakfast. Now if you are traveling to the offbeat villages around Kaza like Langza, Hikkim, Komik, Ki, Kibbar and Tashigang and you have planned to indulge with the local villages there, you can get a couple of homestays there for around 500 rupees a night. Similarly, you can get a couple of homestays in Losar while traveling towards Chandatal. Now from Losar, you have to travel all the way to Chandatal or Batal for a stay. In Batal, you will find just one PWD rest house. In Chandatal, only camps are available there, ranging from 600 to 2500 rupees per person. If you are not concerned with the price, then go for Swiss camps, as these camps are double layered. Since the night in Chandatal is bone chilling and goes below -5 during the summer months, so the Swiss camps are recommended to fight the cold and for a comfortable sleepy night. Now returning from Chandatal, you will be crossing Batal, Chhatru, Gramfu, Rohtang, Madi and Palchan to reach Manali. Batal, Chhatru and Madi offers only a few dhabas there. So while returning from Chandatal, plan to reach Manali. Manali is the famous hill station. You will find many hotels from medium budget to large and luxury. Our stay in Manali was at Golden Tulip for 2357 rupees after discount, which includes breakfast. Mode of transportation. For a Spiti Valley trip, the major cost arises depending on the mode of transportation. Here we are having 4 options as a mode of transportation. Privately hired taxis. If you are hiring a private taxi, the costing will be anywhere between a per day of 3200 to 5500 rupees and more, depending on the number of days you have planned to travel. If the days are more, the fare will be bit less. So if you are traveling in a group, the costing will get divided. Self-drive or self-ride but rented bike or car. Usually you get a decent bike in a good condition at around 1000 to 1200 rupees per day, depending on the make and model of the bike you rent. Similarly, if you are hiring a self-driven car, it's better to go for an SUV, as ground clearance is a key factor while driving around the treacherous Spiti road. Don't bring hatchback, else you will cry. So it's better you can go for Innova, Xylo, Sumo, etc. Rates are approximately 3000 to 3500 rupees per day, depending on the number of days you book, plus the fuel charge of 4000 to 5000 for a bike, considering a mileage of 25 km per liter in hill plus plain areas. If you are traveling by car, the fuel cost would be around 8000 to 11000 for a diesel vehicle. Self-driven, private or owned vehicle, bike and car. If you are driving or riding your own bike, you would be bearing only the fuel charge, which I have mentioned above as 4000 to 5000 for a bike and 8000 to 11000 for a diesel vehicle. Here I have excluded the cost of maintenance. Your vehicle must be serviced before starting the trip and at the end of the trip, which is mandatory. Also, one should add the riding gears and spare parts while planning for the trip. Public transport. One can also opt for public transport or shared public taxis for your Spiti Valley trip, but using public transport inside the Spiti Valley is challenging, as the frequency of such shared vehicles or bus is very limited. Availability of fuel stations. Since Spiti Valley is a cold desert, one should know the places where the fuel stations are available. However, we didn't feel the need of extra fuels we carry in our fuel tank, but it is always advised to carry extra fuel in case of an emergency or there may be any case of any fuel station may get closed. One we witnessed in Tapri, where the fuel station got closed, but luckily we found the one in Sangla. Number 10. Budget and travel expenses. Spiti Valley is a place where you can get a variety of stay options depending on the choice, comfort and preference one is looking for. The price range may vary depending on the season and popularity. The variety of stay options may range from 100 or 200 for a stay at some dhaba tent or shack, 300 to 700 for a stay at low range guest house or a homestay, 700 to 2000 for a medium range guest house or hotel, 3000 and above for hotels that offer much more comfort, convenience and food. Similar will be the case for food expense, and it totally depends on what you want to eat and where you want to eat. If you dine at a dhaba tent, then the cost of the meal would come out to be around Rs 50 to 100 only per person. And the same meal if you take at your hotel, then you might pay Rs 150 to 300 per person or maybe more. Vegetarian and non-vegetarian also matters with respect to food pricing. Apart from the above expenses, one should also consider miscellaneous expenses like toll, parking, entry fee, etc. If you are going for a paragliding in Manali, rafting, mountain biking, shopping, etc., then that will surely be something additional for you. Since the choice and preference vary from person to person, it is quite hard to estimate the cost or budget of any trip. For reference and to get some idea, I will share my trip expenses, which I believe can be helpful for you guys to estimate your budget for a Spiti trip. Remember, there are few miscellaneous expenses which I have excluded, as it totally depends on the circumstances and depends on the person's choice. The maintenance cost of the vehicle is also excluded here if you have planned to bring your own vehicle. So this is the list of expenses occurred during our Spiti Valley trip, and I must say this is the average expense for everyone who is traveling to Spiti Valley with their partner. We have covered a round trip of 2043 km, for which we spent 4362 rupees on fuel. The major figure in this table is the expense for hotel, which can be minimized if you want to save money. So I have spent around 30,000 for a 10-day trip to Spiti Valley with my partner. We didn't cover the Pin Valley. Instead, we have planned for Parvati Valley, where we visited Kasol and Manikaran. You can watch the entire Spiti episode in our channel, in which we have captured every possible stretch from Delhi to Kaza via Shimla and then back to Delhi via Manali. And I believe that the video will help in getting some insight on the road condition and the mesmerizing view. If you got this video helpful, please share it with your friends who are planning for a Spiti Valley trip. And do subscribe our channel. Thank you.